Ali MacGraw once represented everything graceful and elegant about old Hollywood. Her performance in Love Story turned her into a symbol of romance around the world. Yet behind the glow of fame, her real-life love story with Hollywood's king of cool, Steve McQueen, was far from the fairy tale many imagined. Now, at 85, Ali reflects with honesty and wisdom on the intense love and painful memories she shared with McQueen. She admits that while their connection was passionate and powerful, it was also filled with control, insecurity, and emotional pain. Their relationship, built on explosive chemistry, became one of Hollywood's most talked-about marriages in the 1970s. On the surface, they were the perfect couple, the beautiful actress and the daring action star. But in private, Ali faced struggles that left lasting scars. She now speaks about how love, fame, and personal sacrifice shaped her life in ways she never expected. Through her reflections, we discover the truth behind one of the most fascinating love stories of Hollywood's golden era. A love that was as destructive as it was passionate. To understand the emotional chaos that surrounded their marriage, one must look back at Steve McQueen's early years. Born in 1930 in Indiana, McQueen's childhood was filled with abandonment and pain. His father, a stunt pilot, left before Steve could even remember him, and his mother battled alcoholism. This led to McQueen being shuffled between homes, from his grandparents' farm in Missouri to the streets of Los Angeles. His stepfathers were often abusive, which pushed young Steve to run away and join street gangs. He faced learning difficulties, due to dyslexia and partial deafness, making school a daily struggle. These early experiences shaped him into a man who trusted no one completely. His rebellious streak, combined with a desperate need to prove himself, would later influence both his acting career and personal relationships. Even as he rose to fame, McQueen carried the emotional wounds of his childhood, leading to deep insecurity and a constant fear of betrayal. This pain would eventually show itself in his controlling behavior toward those he loved, including Ali MacGraw. Steve McQueen's life changed when he joined the Marines at 17, where he finally found discipline and direction. After leaving the service, he used the GI Bill to study acting in New York, where his charm and raw talent quickly stood out. His breakthrough came in the late 1950s with The Blob and the TV series Wanted, Dead or Alive. But it was films like The Magnificent Seven and The Great Escape that made him a global icon. McQueen became known as the King of Cool, the man every other man wanted to be, and every woman wanted to be with. He did his own stunts, drove fast cars, and lived life on his own terms. But behind that confident image was a man haunted by self-doubt and anger. His need for control was often fueled by fear of losing love or status. Fame gave McQueen everything he ever dreamed of: money, power, admiration. But it could not heal the emotional pain from his past. Those unresolved feelings would later spill over into his personal relationships, including the one with Ali MacGraw. Ali MacGraw's journey to fame was very different from McQueen's. Born in 1939 in New York, she grew up surrounded by art and creativity. Her mother was a painter, and her father, though talented, had a violent temper that left deep emotional marks on her. After studying art history at Wellesley College, Ali began her career in fashion, working as a photographic assistant at Harper's Bazaar before becoming a model herself. Her natural beauty and grace soon landed her in films. Her big break came with Goodbye, Columbus in 1969, which earned her a Golden Globe for Most Promising Newcomer. But it was Love Story in 1970 that made her a household name. The movie's success was enormous, and Ali became one of the most sought-after actresses of the decade. However, her personal life wasn't as smooth. She had already experienced one failed marriage before meeting producer Robert Evans, who cast her in Love Story and later became her husband. Though their relationship brought career success, it lacked emotional fulfillment. And then, during the filming of The Getaway in 1972, everything changed when she met Steve McQueen. The chemistry between Ali MacGraw and Steve McQueen on the set of The Getaway was instant and undeniable. Their connection went far beyond acting. Even though Ali was married to Robert Evans at the time, she was drawn to McQueen's intensity, charm, and rebellious nature. He was unlike anyone she had ever met, wild, magnetic, and dangerous. Ali later described their attraction as chemical, saying she felt electrified by him. Soon, their affair became impossible to hide. The two fell deeply in love, and Ali divorced Evans to be with McQueen. By 1973, they were married, becoming one of Hollywood's most glamorous couples. However, beneath the passion was a storm of emotional conflict. McQueen's jealousy and need for control began to show early on. He wanted Ali to give up acting completely, fearing she might work with other men or become more famous than him. Out of love and loyalty, Ali agreed to step away from Hollywood, a decision she would later regret. What began as a thrilling romance soon turned into a relationship full of fear, tension, and silence. Away from the cameras, Ali's marriage to McQueen was a world of extremes. They shared moments of joy, barbecues on the beach, motorcycle rides, and long talks in their Malibu home. But McQueen's moods could shift suddenly from tenderness to rage. His insecurities, rooted in childhood trauma, made him controlling and suspicious. Ali found herself walking on eggshells, afraid of triggering his anger. She learned to hide her feelings, trimming her emotions just to keep the peace. Meanwhile, McQueen's addictions, drugs, alcohol, and even gambling added fuel to the fire. He was also notoriously unfaithful, which left Ali devastated. Despite her beauty and fame, she felt trapped and powerless in her own marriage. Her career, once soaring, had stopped. Her emotional world was shrinking. Years later, Ali admitted she lost her sense of self during those years, trying to please a man who couldn't be pleased. Their love, which had burned so brightly, began to destroy them both from the inside. By the late 1970s, their marriage was falling apart. Both Ali and Steve were battling addiction and emotional exhaustion. McQueen, despite his fame, was still haunted by paranoia and jealousy. He issued an ultimatum. If Ali returned to acting, their marriage would be over. Tired of living in his shadow, she decided to reclaim her life. The two divorced in 1978 after 5 turbulent years together. The end was painful for both. In later interviews, Ali confessed that she loved Steve deeply, but couldn't survive the chaos of their relationship. She often wondered if things might have been different had they both been sober and emotionally healthy. McQueen, for his part, reportedly regretted losing her but was unable to express it. Their marriage became one of Hollywood's most tragic love stories, a union of two strong personalities who loved too hard and broke each other in the process. The pain from their time together stayed with Ali for decades, shaping her views on love, freedom, and self-worth. After the divorce, McQueen's life took a darker turn. Though he continued to work in films, his health began to fail. Years of smoking and exposure to asbestos during his time in the Marines, and while racing led to a rare form of cancer called mesothelioma. Despite his tough exterior, McQueen faced his illness with fear and desperation. He tried alternative treatments and traveled to Mexico in search of a cure. Sadly, none worked. On November 7, 1980, at just 50 years old, Steve McQueen died of heart failure after surgery. His death shocked Hollywood and left fans mourning the loss of a legend. For Ali, the news was heartbreaking. Despite their painful past, she still loved him and wished things had ended differently. She later said she hoped they could have grown old together, healed, and found peace. McQueen's passing was a reminder of how fragile even the most powerful lives can be. Proof that fame and fortune can never protect anyone from tragedy or regret. After McQueen's death, Ali faced a long period of self-reflection and healing. She returned to acting briefly in films like Convoy, 1978, and Just Tell Me What You Want, 1980. But Hollywood no longer held the same attraction. The emotional scars from her marriage and her struggles with alcohol led her to seek help at the Betty Ford Clinic in 1986. There, she began to rebuild her life from the ground up. Ali also wrote her memoir, Moving Pictures, where she openly discussed the pain, mistakes, and lessons of her past. She later turned toward a simpler, more spiritual life. Embracing yoga and meditation, she found peace in mindfulness and self-acceptance. Her video Yoga Mind and Body became one of the most popular fitness releases of the 1990s, inspiring millions. Living quietly in New Mexico, Ali has dedicated her later years to causes she cares about, such as animal welfare and women's empowerment. Through it all, she has learned that true strength doesn't come from fame or love. It comes from forgiveness, both of others and oneself. Now at 85, Ali MacGraw speaks with the calm of someone who has survived great love and great loss. To the outside world, Ali MacGraw and Steve McQueen seem to live the ultimate Hollywood dream. Magazines called them the most beautiful couple in America. They attended glamorous events, posed for photos, and smiled like everything was perfect. But Ali later admitted that behind those flashes of the camera, there was loneliness and fear. She said she often felt like she was living in a movie where she had no control over the script. Steve wanted things his way, from what she wore to whom she talked to. His jealousy was suffocating. But Ali stayed because she truly believed she could help him heal. She thought her love could calm his storms. Yet the more she tried to please him, the more control he demanded. It's a story many people, even outside of Hollywood, can relate to, being trapped between love and survival. The illusion of perfection can be powerful, especially when the world is watching. But behind that illusion, the reality was quietly breaking her down. Steve McQueen's controlling behavior wasn't born out of cruelty, but out of deep insecurity. He feared being abandoned, just like in his childhood. Every time Ali spoke to another man or received attention from the public, Steve felt threatened. He didn't see it as harmless. He saw it as betrayal. Those who knew him said he lived with constant suspicion, as if everyone was trying to take something from him. His fame only made it worse. Hollywood fed his ego but starved his soul. He had the power to command anything he wanted, yet he never felt safe. Ali became both his comfort and his target. He wanted her close enough to love, but far enough to control. This emotional tug-of-war created a toxic rhythm in their marriage. One day he would shower her with affection, and the next he would shut her out completely. Over time, Ali began to realize that she could never fix what Steve refused to face: his own inner demons. His charm could light up a room, but his fear could burn everything down. Ali MacGraw's story is not just about a broken marriage. It's about the sacrifices women often make in the name of love. At the peak of her career, she walked away from everything: fame, fortune, and recognition, just to please the man she loved. When Steve asked her to stop acting, she agreed without hesitation, thinking it would make him feel secure. But that decision slowly erased her identity. She went from being one of Hollywood's most promising stars to a housewife who felt invisible. She later said that her biggest mistake was believing that love meant giving up everything that made me who I was. Her words echo the experiences of many women who lose themselves trying to hold on to love. It took Ali years to understand that real love should never demand the death of your dreams. Her story reminds us that loving someone deeply is not wrong, but forgetting yourself in the process always leads to pain. Both Steve and Ali were victims of Hollywood in different ways. The world adored them, but that same spotlight amplified their insecurities. Fame creates distance. From reality, from people, and often from yourself. Steve was known for his rebellion against the system, yet he was trapped by his own fame. He couldn't go anywhere without being recognized. The same charm that made him a star became a mask he couldn't take off. Ali, on the other hand, learned that fame was fleeting and empty without peace of mind. When she left acting, the world quickly moved on. Offers stopped coming, and people stopped calling. She felt forgotten by the same industry that once worshipped her. But in that emptiness, she discovered something more powerful: the courage to start over. She realized that freedom doesn't come from applause or attention. It comes from living a life that feels honest and peaceful. This realization would guide her for the rest of her life. After McQueen's death, Ali struggled with conflicting emotions. She mourned him deeply, but also felt a strange sense of release. For years, she had been living in his shadow,